Going into this record, we always said, you know, it's fourth album, you want to do something different.
Do you feel that your successes allow you to escape Stockport?
You still have loads of self-doubt.
Because where we came from, they tell you it's a curse. Explain that to me.
But I did do my work experience at Ethel Austin.
What is Ethel?
It's like an old woman's clothes shop.
Is it, I mean, really easy for you to close your eyes and think about how you feel about her? Imagine what you would be like if she was the lead singer.
Oh, I've said I wouldn't be able to do it. A song by Bee Gees called Fanny, Be Tender With My Love. At the end of 2019, it was kind of just felt a bit lost. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Do you need to do a sync clap?
Yeah, do a sync clap and then it should be good then.
Hello, Tom.
Good morning, afternoon, what time is it?
It's just afternoon now.
Afternoon now.
Look at that typical band. You
Yeah.
don't have no idea
No.
what time.
11 till 4 is band hours, isn't it?
Yeah, right, okay. Yeah. This is, wait a minute, it's, I guess this is around, no, this is pre-sound check time. When would you usually do a sound check for a big show like an arena
3
show?
o'clock.
3 o'clock,
Yeah.
okay, we'll wait, well, we're in advance of that.
Yeah.
What an album.
Cheers, mate.
What an album.
Glad you like it.
Yeah. Let's start with Ode to NYC.
Yeah.
Technically the first track.
Yeah. The
in
writer's
terms
Steve,
of
yeah.
in terms of lyrics.
Yeah.
The writer is this beautiful entry point. Actually, that's interesting. Even though there's no lyrics in that, tell us about that thought process of putting that moment at the beginning of the album, the writer.
Well, obviously James Skelly, the producer from the lead singer in the choral, produced all our records. Because none of the other lads in the band are songwriters, I kind of speak to him as a bit of a mentor and kind of someone to bounce off, not to co-write with, but you know, to bounce ideas off. And going into this record, we always said, you know, it's fourth album, you want to do something different. So the kind of the cinematic aspect was always in mind, if that makes sense. So we always kind of wanted to bookend the record with kind of instrumental pieces because we'd never done that before. So once the track listing started to come together, the names kind of then, you know, the writer's theme was thought of afterwards. The music was written first, and then we kind of discussed, you know, we need a bit of a instrumental piece, and then James had these chords, and then I wrote the melody over the top of it, and then I've always liked, you know, when songs bleed into others. So that's the idea came to then, it kind of just falls into Ode to NYC then. It's kind of like, you know, an intro in a film sort of thing, like the theme music is, and the writer was already a song, so then the writer's theme. Because we're going to call it like prelude or prologue, you know, the obvious thing. Yeah. But the writer's theme just seemed a bit more, because we had the song The Writer, you know.
We're going to go through each track individually, but I just want to get a sense of, did this theme start off and then you make an album around this theme, or do you write a collection of songs and find yourself returning to a theme, which then becomes a kind of concept, and that's a weird word to use about an album in 2022, but does it become this thing that joins it all together? Yeah,
probably more the latter. It's kind of, it was in mind to have ideas, but it was not like a concept. It was like more what you said, a collection of songs were kind of coming together, and you kind of think, oh, that does, you know, that fits with that, and you know, like the sulking poet, the writer, it was all kind of just, it made more sense once we got that, really. But the writer came off the back of, a lot of the time I'll start with song titles, so we knew we wanted it to be like a thematic album. Not really a concept, but like you said, a strong theme running throughout it. I mean, James were like, well, what is, you know, where are we at now? And it's kind of like achieving everything at such a young age, and then you kind of, you know, and with Katie, who I'm married to now. I wasn't married at the time when I wrote the songs, but you know, it was a long-term thing. We knew we were going to be together. So you're kind of looking back a bit like, the lockdown kind of made us be like, or me be like, where, you know, how have I got here? Like, you blink and you've got this kind of career, but you kind of not quite, you still have loads of self-doubt and like that kind of thing. So that's where the writer kind of came into it, and it's kind of like, well, even if I didn't want to, if I wanted to stop tomorrow, I'd still be I need to write songs, you know, it's what I do now. So it was just like that kind of thing, and then I just kind of ran with it. And the Sulking Poet was just kind of an extension of that, and vice versa, so.
Well, we'll get onto that track specifically. Let's start with Ode to NYC. Clearly, an unashamed love letter to a city that you are obsessed with, clearly.
Exactly. No, I love it. It's the only place, apart from like, you know, Manchester, Stockport, where I felt like, I could actually live there. You know, because me and Kate have been a few times from when we first got together, and it became like a tradition. You know, we used to go in January because that was the only time I had off and she had off, and it was fucking freezing. It was about -15.
Yes.
So if you manage it in -15 and you still love it, you get a song out of it. You know, it's there.
So the first time you went to NYC, Tom, is it associated with Katie more than it is with the band?
Yeah, because I did go with a band a couple of months before we went, and it was literally one of them where we could see Manhattan we played in Brooklyn, and we didn't even get to go into Manhattan, so it was kind of like,
wow, okay.
I want to get over there, you know. So we didn't really experience it as the band yet. So my first time was with Katie, yeah.
Because the lyrics read very much like you're a tour guide. You're telling me, go to this place, go to this place, go to this place. How easy was it for all of those memories? Can you close your eyes and be there?
Yeah, I think it's that kind of place, isn't it? Like you were saying, you're a big fan of it as well, and there is that many. It's like you're stepping into a film set, innit? So there is, you know, the Sinatra tribute, we go and watch it on West 56. So it writes itself, them kind of things, and you know,
Times Square and Bleecker.
Yeah, Bleecker Street, all these places. And the Lower East Side is where we ended up finding, you know, we ended up going to like burlesque clubs and like these quirky little bars, which were, you know, we just had just a great time there, having a laugh, and the streets, you're just literally reading stuff and putting it into the song, I suppose. Do
you think there is a relationship between a Mancunian, Stopfordian attitude to life and a New Yorker's attitude to life?
I hadn't really thought about it, but then you mentioned it just before, and I think, like you said, it's more, you'd say a Mancunian is closer to a New Yorker than maybe someone from LA.
Yes.
It's kind of a different thing, and it rains a bit more there, I think, as well, and the weather's, it's got that bit more, you know, like I said, it's even more extreme than the weather we get here, so there is a lot of similarities, I'd say, and it's always got a dead good music scene, and so in hindsight, yeah, it is kind of, maybe we are twinned on some ether.
Can you see yourself? Because you are very, very closely linked, your roots are very much in the northwest of England.
Yeah.
Could you see yourself being there?
I could stay there for a bit. I'd love to do like 6 months there, but it's just, you know, it's hard with life. But we've got a dog. We were talking before. George, what are we going to do with George? Katie's got a hair salon. It's like you can't just drop everything. And we're not at that level where I can just go, don't worry about it, baby. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of...
Yeah.
Well,
George is a lot easier. It's when kids come along that it becomes even more
we're not
difficult.
At that point,
yeah, so that's when it becomes really difficult.
Maybe in years to come. It's just not the way our lives are set up. It's not feasible, and like touring and stuff like.
Let's move on to Ribbon Around the Bomb and a trip to Mexico. I bumped into you once when you just come back from Mexico at the airport. Was it
one at Stockport train station?
Oh, it was at Stockport train station. Yes, you'd just come back from Mexico. I think. You'd played a festival in Mexico.
Was it me? Because I'd stayed longer, and I did a Radio 1 interview.
Right, okay.
Literally landed from Mexico, went and did the Radio 1, whatever it was, the hottest record thing, and then that's why I'd have been on the train back from London, if you know what I mean. But I had just got back from Mexico.
Yeah, yeah. Was it that trip where you went to see the Frida Kahlo?
So me and Katie stayed longer in Mexico, so we played the festival, and then we thought, well, we're never going to go to Mexico really, like, off the cuff, so we're there, and she'd flew out to come and watch us, so we just stayed for another like 4 days, and you know, just did a few more touristy things, and went to the Frida Kahlo Museum, which is her house where she used to live, and there's all the, you know, the artwork and the clothes and paintings, and you know, it's like a, you know, proper tour guide thing. And then just it obviously has information about the different bits of art, and someone had described her art as a ribbon around a bomb, which I just, like I said before, I'm always trying to get song titles from anything, and I just put it into my phone, just like, well, that'll be a song title, and I kind of knew then that would be the album title, just because it was so evocative, you know, it was like the strong title, I think.
Oh, so outrageously strong title.
Yeah, so.
She said life gets no better and no worse, because where we came from, they tell you it's a curse. Explain that to me.
Well, I'm quite pessimistic. As that lyric.
We'll get onto the Sulcan Poet in a little while. Yeah.
So that is kind of... It's hard trying to remember, because it's a couple of years ago now that I wrote that tune. It's kind of... I think I probably these odd lines about these bits where it's like the retreating sea and all that. That's these bits that I get from like books that I'm reading at the time. I can't remember what I was reading. I know there was some bits from books in that song, but a lot of it's as if you've met someone and they're just very pessimistic about the world. So he's about me really, but just the way I've wrote it is more. It's the girl is pessimistic, if you know what I mean.
Right,
she said life, but it's really. That's the sort of thing I would think. And ribbon around the bomb, from the start when I heard that phrase, I kind of thought it's you dressing something up which might have an underlying, I don't know, like darkness or just, it's not quite what it seems to be, yeah. So it's kind of a song about being a pessimist, I would say.
Because I'm intrigued by that line, because where we came from, they tell you it's a curse. Because you are deeply rooted here, you clearly love being from here and you represent Stockport and you give back Stockport by playing big gigs here. Do you feel that your successes allow you to escape Stockport, or Stockport gave you the wings to be able to be a success? Or could be a battle of the two?
No, I feel like it was never I didn't walk out stage saying I want to say we're Blossoms from Stockport, we're going to get massive. But I do think it has played a part and set us apart from other acts, because we did just back our hometown and just, we could have just said we were from Manchester, but we didn't. But it wasn't, we never knew that would like work in our favour. So I just feel like, they've supported us and I feel like that's more, because I don't really feel, because obviously we've done, done well from where we're from sort of thing, but I'm probably thinking more when I was younger and things you'd hear people say and people moan about stuff, don't they? And everything.
Everyone moans about where they're from.
Yeah, there's a bit of everyone's against you a little bit, but you'll pull through it. It's more. They don't really think it's a curse, but where you come from, they tell you it's a curse. It's kind of like it's more just kind of throwaway comments about stuff. It's not as deep set as like, everything's shit. It's not that. It's more just a bit pessimistic. That's the way I kind of view it when I look back at the words. Because obviously when you're writing stuff,
flows.
Yeah, because worse rhymes with curse, doesn't it? So it's kind of it's just flown out that way. But I do think it's kind of looking. A lot of this album, I think, is looking back to, being a little bit younger and the attitudes of people around you, sort of thing.
Could you identify what your nocturnal creature is? She don't sleep.
I think that's from a book.
It's a beautiful lyric. It's a beautiful lyric.
Nocturnal's obviously a great word, and I like Echo and the Bunnyman have got a song called Nocturnal Me. And it's all, when you just think, I'd love to get that into a song. So he's not...
It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's just, I just like I can't remember, maybe Nocturnal Creature was in the book, and I just obviously said, well, she don't sleep. You're just painting pictures, aren't you? You're just describing these people. And
it's the reason I picked up on it, and we are going through this track one by one, Tom, but there are so many observations about your own head and what goes on in your own head in this book. I've been down running wild in my head. We'll get to the writer later on, but there's so many observations of this. You're clearly comfortable going into yourself. And now's the difficult part, because I'm asking you to explain it, right?
Yeah.
Because is this how you process who you are?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like you said, it's harder to I find it harder to explain how I feel, especially to say to Katie or to my mates. You would, especially lads as well. You don't really. It's harder to just say how you feel, isn't it? I suppose I found it easier to put it into songs, and because I've been doing it for so long now, it just feels. You feel better, if you're feeling a bit down, you'll write a song, you feel better. That kind of thing, and just get stuff off your chest, doesn't it? And you feel, it's about feeling productive, I suppose. You feel like you've achieved something when you've wrote a song.
Would it be fair or unfair to say that Katie would find out more about how you feel about her through a song?
100%.
Right.
Yeah, so for years I didn't really tell her how I felt, and she'd be like, do you actually like me? And I'd be like, yeah, I do. Just wait for the next album and you'll hear it. I've got better now. I have got better, but obviously we're 6 years in and we're married now. So
Well, no wonder you've done 4 albums
Yeah.
in 6 years, because it's like, well, it's the only way you're going to find out how I feel about it.
Yeah, just get all my emotions out. So, but I don't know. It is what it is, isn't it? If you haven't got that, well, there's not much to.
Well, what's more romantic than writing a song?
Yeah. So I just think it was kind of.
Unless I wrote it.
Yeah. I just resonated with the line, and I believed it. I was like, yeah, and it's a good opening line as well. And it. So some of these things where you get the melody before you get the words, and and I might be like da na 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 na, and then it's like, well, no, and then I've got things in my phone. What fits with that? Love is everything, and then it kind of you end up there's like a subconscious part of yourself which takes over. It's hard to explain how you write songs, I suppose, because there's an element of real how one day you'll wake up and you've got. For example, in the past, There's a Reason Why I Never Returned Your Calls, one of our songs, just wrote itself because that's how I was feeling that day. The melody just fell off, and it's like the song always existed. Whereas others, you've got to chase them a little bit, and you'll get the melody first, then you have to crowbar the words in, but then you'll just say something that just is how you're feeling on. Parts of the song are exactly how you're feeling, and parts are just kind of fitted to the melody. If that makes sense.
It does. Are you leaning into the idea that you are the sulking poet?
Yeah, once you get started on it, because the lyrics on there.
Yeah, I'll show it to you. I'm just trying to write some words.
Love is rain upon the roof at night. That's like, I've had people in the past who've said, everyone likes the sound of the rain, don't they, on the roof? It's quite romantic. That's kind of, I feel like I've probably come up with that one. Yeah, so I'm trying to become someone and stuff like that, but then it gets like the second verse and he's saying like he plays in a covers band, even though I have now played in a covers band because us and Rick Astley did a covers band, but that song was written before then. So basically I can just say it's all about me.
I just remember walking the dog, bumping into you and going, oh, what have you been up to? And you went, oh yeah, we've just been doing, Smiths with Rick Astley. And I was like, what?
Yeah, exactly that. But that's now become... That song is just me now, isn't it, I suppose? Because the only thing is I worked in a clothing store, but I did do my work experience at Ethel Austin.
At what?
Ethel Austin.
What is Ethel?
It's like an old woman's clothes shop. They're now all closed down, but that's so does a Sunday in a clothing store. So yeah, so...
How would you describe yourself as a salesperson?
Shocking. I didn't even finish the week. It got to the Friday and they made me do this thing called recovery, which was just basically picking shit up off the floor. And I just was like, I'm going. And I'd done all week, so I just messed up the reference that you get for your work experience. I'd done Monday to Friday, and Friday they put me on recovery. It got to 12 o'clock and I just walked out. My mum, I was like, I'm in Cheadle Hume, come pick me up. Walked out.
I was trying to become someone. Did you always believe you were going to be someone, whatever that means?
I never thought I'd be in a band doing this, but I kind of didn't think... I never thought I'd have like a normal job, I didn't. Right. I was only into like filmmaking more so, and kind of had all these kind of hobbies, which I just thought... I never knew what I'd do as a career, so to speak, because I'm not really driven like that, for like career-wise. It's just what makes you happy to me. Right. So... That was just that, trying to become someone who's, a bit of both of that, like kind of just do something that's fun.
Well, you've definitely achieved that.
Yeah.
Born Wild. And this is interesting because you were saying earlier on about men not talking about who they are. And the opening lyrics are, they say it's a phase I've been going for so long, I feel so wrong, but boys must be strong.
Yeah. That's full on. That's just like I was feeling on that day. That's like one that just falls out.
Do you? I mean, because you're supposed to be of a generation that are more comfortable talking about your emotions. Do you think that's actually not true?
Not for me personally, and not for a lot of my friends, I would say. Yeah, I don't know anyone. Maybe apart from Joe. Maybe even Joe. No, but I think I think everyone I know, I would say, would, especially the lads, would struggle to just say how they were feeling. Definitely. And that song's fully about that. That's like about being pretty down.
So what do you think the wild means in the title Born Wild? Is it crazy or is it just kind of feral, kind of...
Yeah,
is it?
again, I had the song title beforehand, so that's why. But then it obviously fitted the rest of everything else I was singing about in the song. I feel like I just think the way I see it is Born Wild's like, it's like we're all basically when you're all the same when you start. I suppose it can go either way. You know what I mean? No one's born going, oh, I'll just tell you how I feel. You know what I mean? You're like everyone. You kind of have to learn how to do that. That's the way I see it. So it's kind of most people are probably a bit like that first, and then you have good people around you, then you get more comfortable saying how you feel. And obviously then it says self-love in time, which is kind of just being like, you need to just back yourself a bit more. And
is this a song that's Born Wild is looking out to what you see going on with men, or is it a very personal song about you?
No, very personal about me, that one, I would say.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's hard to explain how you feel, isn't it? That's why you put it in the song. But yeah, like when probably in the first lockdown, it wasn't because of lockdown. I think towards the back end of 2019, I'd probably started to feel a bit like that. And it was kind of like, we played Edgeley Park in Stockport. We were hitting that kind of more of like a peak of what we'd said we wanted to achieve at that point in our career. And it was like happening. Right. But then I felt like I should have been enjoying it more. And I was coming off stage, I'd see people looked bored on the phone and I'd drive myself crazy about it. And I'd be like, obsessing over everything and then just driving yourself to being miserable, basically. And that's kind of what I was doing. And I was like, I should be enjoying this because there'd be hundreds of people who'd love to be in my position, and I was a bit just not enjoying it as much as I should be, in a way.
It's interesting that Frank Lampard said this about winning the European Cup with Chelsea, was that he thought that was always what he wanted, and that would make him the happiest. And when it did happen, he didn't feel that. No. Right? And then what? Exactly.
It's a bit like that, really, and you can't. Sometimes you just get a bit in a rut, and it's hard to explain, isn't it? But you feel like down, and I think I probably have felt like that over years, and just never really, the way the band was so busy, you don't really have any time to sit back. But the bigger you get, you kind of have a bit more time in between stuff, and you've kind of got a bit more time in your own head to kind of analyse everything and try and get everything perfect. It's just impossible, isn't it? And
what do you think those people who love you would make of this song, Born Wild?
They'd probably be like, "You're all right." I don't know. No one said anything, so they probably just think I'm all right now.
But that's interesting, isn't it? Because it's a song, and that's what Tom does, write songs.
Yeah.
But actually, this is deeply personal.
Yeah, but that's probably like the deepest lyrics I've done, when it's like kind of about me. I wrote a song called Torn Up, which was a B-side to Your Girlfriend, which was a similar thing, I suppose, about being pretty miserable. But that's the one that's on an album, so people will see it more, I suppose. And
does it change you? When you write a song like Born Wild and then you see it in black and white, does it make you think differently about yourself, or do you just go on regardless? It's like, well, this is who I am, not a warning to who I should be, but it's just how I was at that point.
It's more at that point, I suppose. You don't, you get yourself out of it, don't you? And you learn ways to make, to drag yourself out, when you're feeling down. And obviously writing a song makes you feel better. You feel productive from it, and you feel like, I've turned this negative emotions into something great. And I really like the song as well, like the guitar, it's married up in a song which I'm proud of. So I suppose I look back on it now and think, I'm glad I don't feel like that now. But I did feel like that for a while, and I probably will feel like that again, because you're not just like that, are you, I suppose. But it's just learning to get yourself out of it quicker.
Let's move on to the writer now, because let's face it, that's the core.
Yeah.
Right? The writer.
Right in the middle.
Is who you are and what you are. How long did it take you to be comfortable with saying, I'm a songwriter? Because sometimes the kind of imposter syndrome...
that word is definitely how I felt.
Right. So, but you're an incredibly successful recording artist, right? You don't get to 4 albums, right?
No.
You don't. You just doesn't, like,
No.
a lot of bands are lucky to get an album out.
Yeah.
And you're 4 deep. Just tell me about what it feels for you when you sit down to write a song, to be the writer.
It just feels like it's what I do. Like I'm not really on any social media now at all, but even when I was, I'd never put like singer-songwriter in my bio because it just cringes me out. It's just, I don't walk around feeling like that. I just, when I get home, that's what I do, you know, that's what makes me happy. Probably what makes me the happiest, writing songs, I suppose. And I've done it since I was 14, so it's just kind of like my thing, which is only, I do it on my own, I don't write with anyone. I would write with people, you know, I'm open to, because I love doing it, but that's kind of what it is to me. It's quite a personal thing, I suppose, and it's a sense of achievement, and I kind of, you know, I know I'm quite good at it, so I think that's why I like it, because I'm not, you know, I'm shit at some other things, but I'm like, I can do that, so I'll back myself with it, if that makes sense.
How do you keep it inspiring, and so it doesn't just become like a job?
Luckily, we've all, touch wood, I've not really hit. That song touches upon writer's block, but it's more so the fear of it. It's not actually happened yet. And maybe my writer's block would be, I've not wrote a song for 3 weeks, which to some people would be like, that's fuck all. But to me, that would be like, you know, a month without writing a song, I'd start to get a bit worried.
Is it a freedom? Because the interesting thing about it is because I asked you whether it was a job or not, whether it becomes a job.
Yeah, I've not hit like big dry patches. And then we've built up, you know, maybe like we've got this deal and we need an album for this date. You know, we've never been in that position. We've always kind of had the next album ready to go. So it's always been in our court. So I've not really felt the pressure of, fucking hell, I've got to write songs for this or anything like that. And I've kind of, at the moment, I've kind of grown with it. So, you know, your first album, you know, you're experiencing all these emotions, heartbreak for the first time, you know, they fall out of you at that point.
Right. Yeah.
First time you know, in and out of love, and then you know, in love again, they fall out of you at first. But then, as you know, been together for a long time now, it's kind of, you have to find new ways to be inspired. So on the last album, like Your Girlfriend, I just thought, what's another take on it? Someone who's in love with the friend's girlfriend, and just made a story up with it. So I get quite, you know, it's kind of like setting yourself a little task to do it. Then you can, you know, go off exploring, reading blogs online, getting ideas. So I'll do that. That's the way I'll inspire myself, I suppose.
So when the title happens, is there a research process for every song? Or sometimes you can have the title and then bang, it just comes out, the song? Yeah,
none of it's the same. So a lot of the time the title will be there, and maybe I'll go, right, today I'm going to try and write The Sulking Poet or Everything About You. Phone.
That is a proper phone, isn't it? Oh, that.
Yeah. But yeah, sometimes it'll be there is a research process to defining the titles. So in between writing the songs, if I'm in a record shop, I'll look at old random records and just take song titles from. I would never take it from a Beatles record. You're not going to call something Strawberry Fields, are you? Because people will be like,
oh, look at Eleanor Rigby by
yeah,
the Blossoms.
exactly. But so you know, I'll find like say Motown collections from the 70s, but it'll be like obscure tracks. So, and you can't get copyrighted on song titles. So I could call a song Eleanor Rigby if I wanted to, but you just wouldn't, would you? Because you're not going to get anything from that. But in terms of getting inspiration, song titles, I've done that for years now, from before the first album. So in my phone, I'll have like lyrics and then I'll have titles as well. So, and titles could come from reading something, a word jumps out to you, bang, that's a title. Right. And they just pick themselves to me. I can't explain what the process is. If it looks good written down, it's, you know, it's evocative, it rolls off the tongue. That's how the title process, that's how I'll stockpile the titles. So I might have like 20 titles and one will become a song from that. And I'll try a few of the different ones within the melody that I'm on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
So that's kind of, again,
that's a process.
That's inspiring yourself when you're not feeling inspired, if that makes sense. You're chasing it because, you know, I'm not just going to wake up and just go, Everything About You, for example. Yeah. That's like just writes itself. It's a love song. It's like, that's how I felt.
Well, we're getting to that in a minute, yeah.
The Writer, I think I had as a title. Because at this point, at The Writer, it was halfway through the lockdown, or no, full deep in the lockdown, and speaking to James Skelly a lot. I'd already had a few of the songs. We knew it was going to be the 4th album. We had the title ribbon around the bottom. We had these kind of cinematic kind of ideas. And it was kind of finding, right, who am I within this kind of plot in a way. And I was looking, I can't remember what it was, we're talking about coming of age films and stuff like that, and I ended up looking at Stand By Me.
What a film.
And his character is called, you know when he's older, and it kind of goes back in time, doesn't it? You know, at the end, it goes to him when he's older, and he's wrote a book, I think, of his experience. That's the end of the film.
Right.
And his character is the writer. That's what he's called in that film.
Right, okay.
And I just thought, the writer, that's great, the writer, you know.
Yeah.
So and I just put it in my phone, and then once I got to writing that song, and also, I just remembered now, while we're on this song, in the lockdown, I'd got really into Elvis Costello's, and you interviewed him the other day again, weird thing. I got really into Every Day I Write the Book. I was obsessed with that song.
What a song.
And I did a little cover for, I think it was for the NME of that song, and he says in that, then he chapter 1 and all that, and I thought, oh.
Yes.
So I just thought, I liked that.
Yes.
And it's the only song I've ever heard someone do that in, and I thought, and I'd already had these, you know, we've been talking about the writer, it was just marrying up in my head. So once I started that song, I knew I wanted to do that kind of chapter thing, but then it just becomes, in that one, the chapters are just about me and how I'm feeling, you know. That song is basically about excuses to not write.
Yes.
That's basically what the song is. It's, you know,
easier to sit around feeling blue.
Yeah, what's a little longer on the themes, that's like, oh, I'll make another cup of tea, I'll think about what it's about before I actually get to it. You know, so it's weird, but then I'm actually writing the song, so I am doing it. It's weird.
Yes, yeah.
You kind of, it's like a fictional, it gets on a different level then, doesn't it? Because it's kind of like someone struggling to write and putting it off. But maybe I have, because you don't sit down and always write a song. Sometimes it won't work. You know, it doesn't happen. So I have felt like that, I suppose, on a different day. You know, I'll just put it off. And
do you enjoy the process of it just coming out? Or do you enjoy the process of going back over it, refining that lyric, refining that word, editing?
I'd say I don't do an awful lot of refining and editing. I do it in the go.
Right.
Whether that's, you know, it could happen in 25 minutes or it could happen in 5 hours. You blink and it's like, it's gone dark outside. You don't realise, you know, you get lost when you're just in your back room doing it. So I suppose there's no... I'm not the sort of person who would go back to a song 6 months later. It just would be enough, doesn't do anything for me that. Yeah. I've wrote more, so I'm just like into them ones.
Right. Keep it moving forward.
Yeah, but that's one of my favourite tracks on the album, The Writer.
Yeah,
I really like it.
I can imagine.
And it's in open tuning, which is nothing. I was trying that on, just put your guitar in a different tuning, and you find the normal chords still, but they'll just sound a little bit different. You know, so they're quite simple chords, but because it was in open tuning, you're just writing in a different way, I suppose.
We're at the halfway point with Everything About You, which is kind of self-explanatory who that's for, I can imagine. And it's fascinating that you write, it pains you that I hate myself sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite hard for someone who's in love with someone to see that person unhappy.
Yeah.
You know. And you're conscious of doing that.
Oh, God, yeah. I wish I didn't sometimes, you know.
But isn't that part of being married to an artist?
You need to be on the phone to now and to tell her that. If you're like, grow up. And she's not, that sounds like she's not sensitive at all. But, you know, it can probably come to a point, like I said, I'm quite obsessive on things, so maybe something that would, you know, your average person would just snap themselves out of maybe in an hour. You know, I'm like 4 hours deep and it's like, come on. You know, there's levels, isn't there, I suppose, of things you can kind of work yourself up over. But I suppose...
So the deep sea dive into your head is whose head? Your head?
No, let me see it.
The deep sea dive, let me just find that lyric. These all bits will be cutting out.
It's
deep sea dive into your head. Don't you ever wonder, is this what life is for? Don't worry, you know
that you've got someone to deep sea dive into your head. I think that works both ways. It's when you're in love with someone, that's what it is, isn't it? You're going into you know everything about them, don't you, I suppose? And you get, you know, you take all the bad stuff, you know, you want to know everything, they want to know everything. So I just thought Deep Sea Dive it's just a bit more of a colourful way of describing it, innit? You know, you can't physically deep sea dive in someone's head, but it just sounds, you know.
Well, that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
That's because when you're dating someone, you're just kind of shallow, swimming in the shallows, right?
Yeah. I really like that
surface.
you picked out that line. I like that line. There's a lot on that. Yeah, there's a very honest song, that, I suppose. It's not. There's less in that song. We know what I'm saying. I might have got something from a book here and there.
Right.
There's not really. I don't think there's anything in that song which is from any sort of external movie, literature, anything. It's just from that, you know, 100% me.
What does she make of the song?
She likes it.
But she should do.
Yeah.
You're saying in that what you find it difficult to actually say to her.
No, yeah, but it's got, you know, we're not. Again, like we're not dead over the top, so she'd never be like, "Oh, I love that, it's amazing." She'd just be like, "Oh, that's nice." You know, she'd be like.
You mean you didn't come in with a silk bathrobe and put that on the stereo?
Start playing it. No, God, she has to itch the songs out of me. I'll tell her I've done it. So what have you done today? I wrote a song. It's about you. And she's like, "Go and show me then." I was like, "It's not ready yet." You know, I'm like, "You'll hear the finished thing." You know, I'm always like, it's a bit nerve-wracking showing someone.
Yeah.
This crackly little voice memo of this, you know, you're pouring your heart out. It's a bit not a normal situation, is it? And you kind of sat there while she's listening to it, you're like looking over like, are you into it? Are you liking it? What are you thinking? And then, but yeah, she likes it. She likes the words.
Is it awkward to play a song about someone that you love deeply, singing about how much you love them deeply?
Not anymore. It was when we first got together, because I suppose that's like a weird, to be with someone who writes songs and you've never had anyone write a song about you.
No.
Obviously I do it, so it's just normal to me now. But
right.
the showing them for the first time is a bit nerve-wracking. In fact, you've only been together like, a couple of months, and then you start writing songs and it's like, sat in the car going to like, I don't know, a day out to the park, and you got your tunes on Spotify, and it's like, oh, well, I wrote this the other day, you just put it on. You know, you try and, there's no easy way to break that in, is there? And be like, oh, this one's about you.
Oh, you don't say it's about you?
No, I will.
I'll
say, yeah, this one's about you.
That's nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it is. A bit like an audition.
Yeah. Imagine if she's just like, that's a bit shit, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. She might think that about some of it. But
she couldn't think about everything about you.
Well, I hope not. But yeah, so she knows it's about her.
So we're at the halfway point, so should we go somewhere else?
Yeah, why not? Should we play a bit of pool?
Yeah.
Be nice.
Play a bit of pool.
I need a wee anyway.
Talk about a bit of
Yeah.
songs.
Good. What time are we on?
Oof. So, Care For.
Yeah.
Is this the second love song on the record? What frame of mind were you in? Frame. See what I said? See what I did there? When you started to write Care For.
Do you know what that was written? What was that?
Stripe, I think.
That was written before the lockdown and before the rest of the batch of the songs was written. It was actually written right after The Keeper from the last album. So it was kind of, in a way, it's probably the closest to something off the third album, Foolish Loving Spaces, that you get on this album, if that makes sense. Because it was written literally a couple of weeks after The Keeper. So it's the oldest song, really.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's the oldest song on the album.
Is it, really easy for you to close your eyes and think about how you feel about her? Does it come very naturally?
A bit of both, really. Yeah, I think so.
Your spots.
I'd say so, to be fair, yeah. Like I said, it's easy to put it in a song than it is to say it, but...
Were you a jealous man?
I'd say I probably...
That's the opening line, isn't it?
I was a jealous man on my old self.
Yeah.
More so, I wasn't really with her, so to speak, because she never did anything to make me, never put me in that situation.
Quite often women don't have to do a thing.
No, but I'd say I would be, maybe, I'm not insane, but I'm not,
But you're not
As
not insecure.
No, some people are a lot more laid back. Yeah, I'd say I could be quite insecure, and yeah, I would maybe. I've got the potential to be quite. I could be quite jealous, I reckon. I'm quite protective, you know. I think that's probably more so what it is.
It's quite a strange thing though, because think about how much more she has to be insecure about. You're the lead singer in a band.
Oh, I know. We've had these conversations.
I bet. Imagine what you would be like if she was the lead singer.
Oh, I've said I wouldn't be able to do it. I've point blank said I just couldn't be. I couldn't be with the female version of me. Even if you were as like nice as she is, in terms of never done anything to make me feel, you know, doubt her in any way. And I haven't done anything in that sense, but it's, like you said, it's more the attention, I suppose, and it's not a normal situation.
And being on the road.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I couldn't. I know I couldn't do it. So, you know, I've got a lot of appreciation for, you know, being able to do that. But yeah, that song was. It's a bit. Like I said, the first verse is more about me. Right. Well, it starts off about me. Then it says I was a jealous man. I'm my old self again. But then, you know, it's that. No, I'll you know, sometimes I find little. You know, the first couple of lines that I was this, I was a jealous man, I'm my old self again, I've got to learn something. Then it says, she only gets better, she only does. Yes. So it's kind of, I've maybe stumbled across that, maybe accidentally, but then thought, oh, this, you know, I've listed things that I am, now I list things that she is.
Better, beyond measure.
Yeah, it's kind of...
Stops you in motion.
Yeah, so it's... I'm a bit sneak on that. So that was kind of... So that's kind of, yeah, quite, you know, I like that. Probably accidentally came across, you know, the comparisons of, well, not really comparisons, but I'm this, you're that, I suppose. It's showing we are very different as well. You know, I'm probably more, she'll just tell you how she feels well more than I would.
I rise, then I fall.
You know, I got that from a Bee Gees song.
Is that right?
Yeah, because I had different lyrics for it. And James Skelly, like I was saying before, he's kind of the only person I'll ever will discuss lyrics and, you know, talk about stuff in that way. He kind of said the demo we had, he was like, the lyrics aren't, it doesn't, you know, the chorus isn't happening enough. You can get better lyrics, basically, he kind of was saying.
How do you react to that?
Well, I've worked with him a long time now, so I trust his opinion.
So you can take that better from him than you can from most people? Understand?
I'd say so, yeah, and I suppose no one else has questioned me on it in a way, really. Like the lads, unless they all go and like speak to each other when I'm not there. But to be fair, I do this process before the lads hear it.
Yeah, they've got their own WhatsApp group, haven't they?
Yeah, like the lyrics chat. This one's shit. But I don't think they've got. But it's I feel like there's a different thing with being a songwriter though. Like I was saying to Miles was in there before, saying, "Fucking hell, lyrics are good, aren't they? Like I never really listened to the lyrics, and like no offence, but he doesn't, you know." And he's hearing them now and understanding stuff, and he's kind of appreciating it. So Miles ain't going to turn around to me and say, "What about this, mate?" He's busy listening to like the decibels and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. The decibels.
He'll be like, "That's not even right. That's not right."
Just listen to the decibel.
No, Miles will hear like a technical side of it, whereas he's never.
Has he got a decibel meter?
He has.
Of course, he's literally got a decibel.
Yeah, get a bit of this.
This is what I'm saying.
We don't.
So he, you know, there's no kind of, he's not questioning the lyrics in that sense, but Skelly was kind of, I think it's your shot, mate.
Oh, is it? Okay.
He thought the lyrics could happen a bit better. So I...
In care for?
Yeah, on the chorus, just on that, what he says, "That's all you care for. I'm here and this is love's true devotion." What he originally said was, "It's all that you care for. With hand over hand we fly with devotion." I can't remember what he said. He didn't say I rise and I fall. He said something else, but there's a song by Bee Gees called Fanny, Be Tender With My Love. And the opening line is, "First I rise, then I fall." And I just always liked it. So I just was like, I'll rise and then I fall. So just kind of an old Bee Gees song that I like, and I just used it on that bit, and they just kind of rewrote the end of the chorus to, you know, until we got it right. So that's where that line came from, because I didn't originally write that line. It was something else, and James thought I could do better. So I just went to the Barry Gibbs, and just thought, I was like, what about that?
Fair enough. It's really nice to hear an album which has so many songs celebrating what it's like to be in love.
Yeah.
Because there's so many records that are breakup songs, right? So many records. I remember Tom Adele telling me that, you know, there's only so many breakup records you can write.
No, definitely. But to be fair, this album's probably got the least amount of love songs for my kind of...
Right.
There's only 2 really, Everything About You and Care For.
Yes.
Whereas the last album, Foolish Love and Spaces, that had more love songs on it, I'd say.
Before you were married?
Before I was married, yeah. Well, this album was written before I was married.
You were married before?
I got married afterwards, didn't I?
Ah.
Yeah, it's this...
Because you haven't been married that long, have you?
No. Yeah, trick shot, yeah.
What a trick. What a trick.
Well, there you go. But yeah, so it's nice. I find it harder to write songs about being in love, or more of a challenge than breakup songs. They don't come as naturally. You've got to chase them a bit more. So even though you were saying, is it easy to write it? You know, like you said about Kate, is it easy to write these lines about it? It's not as easy as when you're going through a harder time. I think.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
it's harder to say. I've said this in interviews before, but it's harder to say, I love you, you're great, than there's a reason why I never returned your calls. You know what I mean? That's a better song title than I love you, I think you're great. Saying that, you could, a big pop song does sound like I love you, I think you're great, so don't write off the next
not at all.
record. But yeah, so Care For was it's kind of old compared to the album in some of the rest of the songs. It was the first one written, and we always loved it. We kind of liked the 70s. Once we kind of recorded it together, it had a bit of like a bit like Bee Gees in a way to us, or like You To Me Are Everything by The Real Thing, that kind of the piano and the vibe. So we always wanted it on the album for that reason, I suppose. So it's kind of, it does feel like its own little thing compared to the rest of the album.
It's a great song. Now, talking of great songs, great titles, Cinerama Holy Days. I mean, where does that even begin?
So the title was, it started with a title.
I think we've got a pattern here, haven't we?
Yeah, there is this isn't, giving all my techniques away. Basically, just get a song title and just see what happens. It came from, again, James Skelly, in the lockdown, was sending me stuff, you know, for inspiration, like, you know, poets and writers and stuff like that. And I'll have to get the guy's name up. I can't remember. It's like Lawrence something. One of the hardcore fans got on it straight away. Once they saw the track listing, they knew I'd got it from this. It's a line in this guy's poem book.
Oh.
I need to find it.
Should we search this
Who's
up?
got the phone out? You go on it most of the tour? Sure, they got onto it straight away.
What?
Yeah, so look, well, someone's been reading their Ferlinghetti. So it's this. It's a book called Coney Island of the Mind, Poems by Lawrence Ferlinghetti. So James Skelly was like, you should read this because I think it'll inspire you. And obviously we'd already got onto that, the coming of age kind of songs, and there was these kind of ideas starting to present themselves. So I just read his book, and he's talking about, I'd have to reread it. It's a couple of years since I read it. But again, I'm reading things fast.
Those were the best days when you were young.
That's not from a poem. That's me thinking. Basically, this song's about thinking about your youth, I suppose.
Yes.
That's what it's about. And I vividly remember my dad saying when I was young, I appreciate when you're young because it's the best time and you'll never ever get it again. So those were the best days. Is me think that's something my dad said to me years ago, and I managed to get it into a song. That's kind of where that line comes from. Those were the best days when you were young, because he said that to me when I was young. Like, this is, you'll never get this again. But that Cinerama Holidays, he mentions it in that poem. But obviously he's American, so that's why the Cinerama. He's describing things and he's saying this, the Cinerama Holidays. So obviously probably when he was younger, going watching the films at the cinemas, I suppose. And again, the song titles are always the ones that get me, will inspire me. So I just always knew I wanted a song called that once I read it.
You can't believe that your best days were when you were young, because as you said in previous songs about kind of wanting to be someone, and escape and those kinds of things, you're living this extraordinary life which has been lived.
I don't. Again, songs are all. It's not.
It's fact and fiction.
Things you say, it's not like literally. That's exactly how I'm feeling. And
absolutely.
I never don't. You know, you can't stray from that. I suppose these elements of me in the song, which are truthful about my youth and stuff like that, and then these are exaggerated elements. And this person in this song is maybe more, even more not pleased with where they are now, I suppose, and they're really reminiscing. But I had emotions of that, reminiscing, and it was a bit more of a carefree time, isn't it? When you're young, you don't.
Yeah.
There's less pressures and stuff like that. But obviously, it's amazing what we're doing. It's better than when I was younger. Don't get me wrong, but I always remember my dad saying that, so I kind of just put it in the songs, I suppose, as a line. But
there were freedoms, yeah.
There's something about it. There's a care. We always say, someone's stressing us out. Or, remember when you were like 7? You're just not arsed, are you? Do you know what I mean? You're just like. Have I potted any yet?
You got 2.
Oh, that's sweet.
I think.
Well, yeah, so that's kind of.
I think you got another shot.
Oh, yeah, you popped, right. So that song is, these, like you said, facts and fiction and whatever you said was right. It's kind of, some bits are totally truthful, but it's definitely a song about reminiscing about your youth and closing off the street and stuff. That's kind of what happened in it, like street parties and stuff like that.
How does a song like that build into, because it's such a big sounding song, Cinerama?
Start off with the piano. The piano, like you mentioned, the piano hook. It comes from that piano hook. And then I suppose it wasn't one that fell out of the sky in terms of lyrics. It's, I've looked at my titles. I've found Cinerama Holy Days, right? I don't know, maybe I didn't. I probably would have started off with the verse. Oh shit. So I'd have started off with the verse, and I think I would have just had bits in there, maybe what I picked up from things I was thinking or things I was reading. I heard the daytime falling, the closing off the street. That probably sounds like it was probably from a book, maybe. So, and I've maybe been playing the piano part, got the melody, and the daytime falling, and then, then you just start running with it then. And then you're like, right, well, what's this about? Well, it's kind of, it just started to write itself as kind of being about your youth, I suppose. That's kind of where it was. And then the Cinerama Holidays fitted in with that because it's like looking back, I suppose.
So it's interesting. So you will have a list of titles that have no songs attached to them. And then you can go through the titles and pick that out in the way that you're feeling. You connect your feelings to a title. Yeah.
Because, and again, it's open to interpretation, isn't it? What I take from Cinerama Holidays, someone might think religiously from it, where I didn't think that. I just thought Cinerama Holidays was like a pastime which was more enjoyable, maybe. That's what I took from it. Not like when I went to church or something like that.
Yes,
It wasn't what I was thinking. So the titles will, they'll just come from a list, and some will stick and some won't. And obviously the title does often end up being the chorus, so it's not usually the first thing you'll sing. You write the verses first,
you need to get to that point.
To the chorus.
So, right, okay.
But yeah, that song, and it's quite a groovy, sounds like a cringy word, but it has got a kind of had a Stonesy thing about it, and
yes.
A bit Under My Thumb was kind of something we talked about. This is more into like the studio approach of recording it, but it kind of just had that. The groovy piano thing just drove it, I suppose.
Do you play, if you want it to sound like a song, do you play that song, or does it exist in your imagination? Okay,
no,
so you'll play
that'll
it.
come more so in the studio though, not when I'm writing it. I try and I'll try and write it. I might have been listening to something and then I've been inspired, but a lot of these wasn't coming off the back of listening to things. It's just they've just kind of, the sounds have come from within me, if that makes sense. But in the studio, we would get up, right, what's the drum sound on Under My Thumb? Let's try and get a bit of that, but not really, not on the writing process of that. the piano groove just came and that just drove the whole thing.
And does Miles come in at every point to find out the decibels of the song, the new song that you're listening to? Is that?
Oh yeah, he's on it with his decibels. He's waiting outside in the demo. To be fair, when we do the demos, Miles is on the, sometimes before it gets to James, or I've shown James the song, then we'll demo it as a band before we go in the studio. So everyone then puts their own flair on it. So yeah, to me that song is very. The music comes first on that one in a way. The lyrics are secondary to it, even though there's still some maybe.
So title, piano riff, song.
Piano riff, yeah, but the title would have come first. So
yes.
But then I've looked to I've got the piano riff first, then looked to the titles.
And are you? Does a riff? Would you make a recording of a riff specifically that you didn't have a song to or you didn't have a title to? Right, okay, so that can happen as well.
Yeah, so like I said, when I said before I wouldn't go back 6 months, but within a week I would,
right.
I'd maybe say I might be busy, I might have to go out, and I've only got dun, 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 dun. Then I'm like, right, leave it, listen to it when I'm walking the dog, right, and get stuff over the top of it then. So it doesn't always happen immediately. So yeah, the piano riff, and that was probably one I probably had the piano riff first, just looping as a groove.
Right, such a great song. This is the one song in the album that I really struggled to work out the narrative of it, was Edith Machinist.
Yeah.
Right? Because the title is so out there.
Yeah.
Right? Tell me about this title, Edith Machinist.
It's a clothes shop, which, accidentally, this jacket's from there. So it's a vintage shop in New York, in the Lower East Side.
Oh, wow, okay. So we're back to New York.
Back to New York. And in fact, I think we found it the first time me and Katie had been, and the vintage shop was called Edith Machinist. I think it's on Rivington as well, which is mentioned in Ode to New York.
Yeah.
And again, the whole title thing is a common, obviously you can get that. I work with titles a lot of the time, and Edith Machinist, I always wanted to, I'm going to get that in a song.
It just flows
beautifully. Yeah, it flows, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just a cool name, I thought.
Edith Machinist.
Edith Machinist, it's a bit of a tongue twister. So then, I thought, and I found it, I struggled maybe for 4 years to get it in the song. I never got it in. But I always never ever forgot the name. We'd go there every time we went, and I kept saying, I'm going to get it in the song, I'm going to get it in the song. And then I started writing this song, not knowing what it'll be, the title. And again, it's just, the music comes first on this one again. It's not really about anything in particular. It's not as deep as, some of the other songs we've talked about. It's more, is it your shot or my shot?
You've got two.
It's maybe not as, it's not come from any sort of personal experience as such. It's more so channeling into,
Are you playing with words more than trying to say anything on this? On this Edith song, where he swore and hardcore.
Yeah, it's like
it's
an amalgamation of channeling into that, a breakup song. It's like something bad's happened within a breakdown of a relationship, and then it's just pulling in influences that have the Edith, because I want the name, and I thought, right, Edith, there it fits. Just that's the Edith Machinist, and it's in the song. Knew I had the title. And Yet Still My Heart Pause was just another line I'd had in my notes that I could never get into a song. So this one was kind of, I felt like I had the music and the melody, like I loved the chorus melody. And it was a bit more Smithsy when I first wrote it. A few more guitar parts, but it was a bit too much like it. So again, that was where, in the recording process, James Skelly helped rein it in a bit and we made it more like the choral. But the song was kind of, the lyrics are more just painting pictures. Yeah, there's nothing. Hey, blagged it.
Proper trick shot that was.
The lyrics are just kind of painting, just pulling together a lot of things I've had just lying in my notes that I could never get into other songs. And I had the melody. So
right.
Hardcore, I heard them say it in that Shallow song. That was in that film. Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
Oh,
It's a massive. It won like the best Oscar tune. It's in that Star Is Born.
Right. Okay.
Shallow, and she says hardcore in that, and I just thought it's quite an intense word. Which was, when did we get so hardcore? It's like when you just sounds quite dramatic. So again, that word fitted in there, and it rhymes with pause. So it was these again. He's pulling stuff together with this song. It's more of an amalgamation of things I had lying around, and Edith Machinist. I always wanted to get that into a song.
Should a song always have a meaning that you can explain, or is there a justification for a song where actually the listener can attach whatever meaning?
100%. I'd say I started off writing songs more so like Charlemagne, our biggest song.
Yes.
No offence, it means nothing to me. It really doesn't. Like Ewan told me that it was called Made of Lead. So I had the whole thing, the melody. I've told this again in the past. And Ewan studies history and he heard me writing it and it said Kingdom Reigned and he said, have you heard of Charlemagne? So again, the title thing, I was like, well, no, that's a better title than Made of Lead. So that became Charlemagne. So it doesn't mean anything. Whereas if I'm singing something else, or at least at the time, there's a reason why I never returned your calls. Like that's literally autobiographical. I can picture it, and there, the song, it's very personal, especially at the time. Or the love songs that I've been writing, they're very, close to the bone, close to the heart. Whereas some songs, I don't think they have to have any meaning. As long as the melody to me is, if you get melody and lyrics, then obviously you're onto a winner. They're often the ones that really stick. But I suppose Charlemagne is defeating that object because he's very loose, isn't it? Like what is Charlemagne? It doesn't really mean anything to any. It's not dead personal. It's more metaphors, isn't it? I suppose. So it's open to interpretation.
But why shouldn't a song engage with my imagination? Because if it's so obvious, right?
Yeah.
You're not giving me perhaps any space.
No, yeah, totally. And I think some songs serve a purpose, and sometimes you want a song to be the good for the fact that there's no wiggle room. Oh, to New York, there's no wiggle room, is there?
Yeah,
it's like, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
But you're painting a picture, and it works. Like, if you're into it, some people might think it's shit, but people are into it. They're like, yeah, I'm there, I can picture it. Whereas Edith Machinist, like you said, you're like, what's this? What's it about? So, and then just like the chorus, you've got to have enough in the song to believe in it. And the chorus, I like the chorus melody, and it was enough to chase it for me. And I rated it off the back of the chorus melody. Like, Edith, like ceaseless war, and I liked that part of the song. And it's a bit darker, and you kind of, obviously I've wrote a lot of songs for this record, so this was in the ether of maybe 7 other songs which could have gone on the record. But you go, well, what does it need at this point? And we've not really had we had Born Wild earlier on, and we needed another one which kind of had a bit more of a darker tone to it, sonically.
How many songs were on the long list, Tom, before you get to
25, I think.
Right.
It was a lot.
Right, so you tend to
James
halve it.
Skelly's feedback on the song list, one day when I'm not quite as precious about it, I will put it online. It's fucking hilarious. Because he's brutal on it, brutal.
So what, I mean, it's kind of really binary for him. It's like, that's shit. Would he be that brutal? Would he go, that's rubbish?
Yeah. But you've got to have, there's no other way around it. You've got to have that, I suppose. So.
Wow.
Yeah, so
has it over the 4 albums, has it taken you a while to get used to that kind of feedback?
Yeah, and he's not given that feedback before, but because I've written so much,
right?
Because it was lockdown, because there was a backlog from the album before this one.
To you.
Mate,
you're going to come to win this game. You've literally
picked a pocket.
What?
You have to pick a pocket on the black ball, don't you?
Oh yeah, I didn't do that, did I? You've got 2 shots anyway. But you've literally been doing nothing. I've been here, like, trying to get it queued up and trying to get an angle, and you've just, by doing literally nothing. Right, that's a pretty good example.
Which
right,
pocket
that
you
pocket there, I'll go with that pocket, but I won't get it in. Oh!
Come on.
What? Wait, look. What? No. Oh, you absolute... You're a wrong 'un, you are. I'll go with that pocket again, and I've got to get an angle. We're going to get an angle from here.
You can't change your pocket once you've picked it.
What?
Yeah, that's your pocket till the end.
Is that how it works? That's
rules,
not... Since when did you start playing that rule?
Rules, then.
No, the rules. What do you mean? You pick one pocket and that's got to be it for the whole time.
Stockport rules.
Oh, he's done it.
Oh, 2 to you again. Man's gonna
Yeah,
beat me.
we only had this kind of feedback because there was such a backlog of songs from the last album and then writing this one. It was kind of overwhelming, the amount of songs, so it just had to be like, right. But I've not picked a pocket, have I? I'll have that one in the corner.
Okay.
Come on.
What?
Should have gone for that one. Oh, I should have gone for the wrong
And
one.
it went in!
You win because it went in the wrong one. Where's that ball gone?
It's okay, so when you're putting a track listing together, Visions is by far the longest track on the record.
Longest track we've ever done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So that made the cut of the 25 odd songs.
Yeah.
Why?
One, I think it was one I worked with James a lot on, so maybe he just liked that one for that reason.
Right.
I don't think so. I think it kind of summed up. There's a line in that song which I think sums the album up, which it says, "Was I complete at 23?" Which kind of, that was like, right, this is what the album's about. So it wasn't the last song that was written for the album. It was written, amongst the rest of them, whatever, mid-2020. But obviously it lends itself to being the last track, or second to last track with the instrumental. Because it's so long, it felt like it was closing the album. But I think because we were going into the fourth album, we'd never done kind of quite an indulgent, long song where it's quite deep and it's talking about a lot of things in the lyrics. And
yeah, it is.
We'd sent each other songs, and there was a War on Drugs song which was quite long and intense, and we kind of was like, we should have a song like this for the album, and that's kind of where it came from. It's called Thinking of a Place, I think, and that's kind of a bit like similar vein to Visions in a way. And I just kind of, it just ended up again being about writing about, I suppose, looking back to you, but not so much really young, maybe like just looking back. I suppose it's a nostalgic tune in a way. That's what that song's about.
How different are you? I mean, not as a person, because that is a very long conversation potentially, but as a songwriter from a 23-year-old.
I don't think I'm that different. I still approach it. I still write on my own in the back room of where I'm living. I used to be in Mum's house, now it's where I live. That's not changed really. So I don't approach songwriting any differently, I suppose. It's just the things. I suppose you just experience different things, aren't you, I suppose? I've probably experienced a bit more. I don't know, what's the word? You just get a bit more self-doubt maybe as you get older, I would say. In some ways, but then you give less of a fuck about something, so it's hard, it's like a weird thing. I've probably just had more time to reflect and just be like, why do I feel like this? Or, I had more time off from being dead busy to then kind of, it's more like I said about after that end of 2019, it was kind of just, I just felt a bit lost. Just didn't really feel like myself, if that makes sense. I'd be in conversations and just not really, listening, just didn't want to talk to anyone or be around. Just felt I was miserable to be around, if that makes sense.
Well, okay, so, but how is that different? Because you're not miserable to be around, but
Not now, I'm not.
No.
But maybe I was that,
But that sulking poet, that kind of vibe that people get from you, how was it different
that's
at 2019?
tongue in cheek in a way, because that's kind of what I'm running with, what someone says about me. When I'm not really like that,
Yeah.
But there has been times where I have felt down. I don't want to say depressed, because that's like, I know people really, really suffer, so I don't think you can just throw that around. But I'd say I felt miserable. I wasn't present in conversations, just wanted to be like, oh, can't be that. It's hard to explain, isn't it? I suppose, I imagine people have probably felt that.
Yeah, a lot of people.
My friends will have as well. But it's hard to articulate how you feel when you feel like you just don't want to talk to them, you don't want to do anything.
What's the difference between being a 23-year-old and imagining selling out biggest arena in Manchester and then actually doing it? And I'm not really being that specific about the arena. It's more a case of what's the difference in perception about what being in a successful band will be like, and then you are in one?
I feel like your goals are always bigger, and the goalposts move, don't they? So it's kind of, I don't want to say you get used to it because it makes you sound a bit of a dick, but you do kind of, everything's, if we'd have, we played one gig at Night and Day Cafe, say TikTok was the thing, we blew up on TikTok, then they booked the arena and it sold out, I'd probably be like, fuck me, that's mental. But it's been 8 years of playing up and down the country, supporting big people, getting used to, supporting Stone Roses at Wembley. The bigger gigs are actually easier. If you said to me, play you a song now, I'd start sweating and I'd be a bit like, fucking hell, a bit nervous. Whereas walking out to like Glastonbury Pyramid is a piece of piss. It is, because you can't see the whites in people's eyes. It's not as intense in a way.
Right. So doing the Deaf Institute would make you more nervous than doing
but not
Edgeley
now.
Park.
Yeah. But then there's a different thing with hometown shows where I kind of, the family's massive, the guest list is huge, you're obsessing over where people are sitting. I just get obsessed on things like being right, and then I'm going on stage in like 10 minutes and I'm worried, I hit the seats, is this sorted? So that's what it's like being in a successful band for me personally. But
And
then
a 23-year-old, you wouldn't have thought of any of that.
No, but the arena, this was at Edgeley Park, I'd say, and I kind of had that thing after that, and I was a bit like, why do I feel like this? And I kind of, delved into it and kind of was like, right, I need to just sort myself out here, because I'm just not happy. And then I did. So by the time I got to the arena, I was like, no, I'm going to enjoy this now, because I felt like I didn't enjoy things as much as I should that year, and I knew this was a massive thing, so, I did. I just kind of was, I knew how to enjoy it more. It's hard to explain, but I just did know how to enjoy it more. And it is amazing, don't get me wrong. It still is mental, because we've been to watch the Arctic Monkeys there, me and Joe, and it's like, yeah, this is mad when you're walking out there. But within like a song, you just get into it, and it's just like, right, don't fuck the words up. There's too much stuff to think about. You got an 18-song set to remember the words to them all. It's like, you just kind of get into autopilot in a way and enjoying it. I suppose, yeah, you get used to it, but you're not fully used to it. It's not a normal thing to walk out to, but it's not as mad as it would. If you'd have told me that 8 years ago, it would have been more shocking. But you earn your stripes, don't you? Especially the way we've done it.
Yes.
We've played, you book this gig, sell it out, do a bigger one, sell that out. So you kind of work your way up to it. So that's how it feels.
When it didn't make you feel how you thought it would, did your bandmates, did the boys spot that, or did you hide that?
Did you spot it? Yeah. Well, I think Joe especially would, because we've been best mates since we're 12. You know each other inside out, don't you? I suppose. And it would be, I'd come off stage, and everyone would be like, "That was great." And I'd be like, I do fucking hate, they didn't like it, half of them were bored, or, I'd be obsessing over wanting it to be this perfect thing, which you just can't have. You can't control what the crowd is, and you're reading into things that aren't an accurate representation of what people are experiencing. But then I'd come off stage and be beating myself up over it, or even like if I sang one song flat or a little bit off, I'd be beating myself up over it, and then that would ruin the gig for me. But I'm not a trained singer. Do you know what I mean? And you just got to let it go, haven't you? I was right on 18 of the tunes out of 19. One of them I fucked up on. It's like, leave it. No, so that's the level. That's what it was kind of like.
You're saying that out loud. Leave it. Move on. But can you? And do you?
I've got better at it now. Yeah. I'd say I can more so now. What do you say? I'm the kind of person.
You've got better.
That's why I looked at Joe.
Yeah, you've got better, but you still do.
I think.
Do you need to though? Because the game that you're in, the game that you're in, the part of what makes you who you are, is that, right?
Yeah,
You've got to be perfect. Right, it's got to be perfect. And I've yet to meet an artist, and I've, as you know, introduced hundreds of them, who'd go, yeah, I was flat, who cares?
No, yeah.
Like I've never met an artist.
I'll just get better at kind of just letting it go a little bit.
Right.
If you know what I mean. But I'm the kind of person, I'd play, you know, on that tour, the Arena wasn't my favourite gig. Hull was my favourite gig. I don't know why. The stars aligned that night, and to me, I came off stage, I was like, that was my favourite one. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you just enjoy, it's a very even though you're on there as a band, you all have a very different experience when you're on the stage, I think. You know what I mean? Joe's best gig might be, right, he didn't fuck up the drums that night, or the sound was great, so he loved it that night, whereas, you know, if I feel like, there was one in Stoke where the technical shit fucked up when we were kind of doing this big encore thing, and we changed our suits and that, but that kind of made it, but the fact it fucked up didn't bother me. I thought it was funny, and it kind of made a banter between the crowd, and then I enjoyed it. It was like this whole thing, you know, these like little things which kind of, for me, make it work, but the odd thing I'll obsess over and be like, no, that's shit. This doesn't really relate to Visions.
Well, it does. It kind of all does, really, because it's all looking back.
Yeah.
Right? And evaluating, and Visions is looking back. And as you get older, and we're into fourth album territory now, are you finding yourself looking back more than perhaps you look forward?
On these songs I did, and I think that was because I was just so obsessed on just what's next. You never really like appreciate what you've done. You know, look back and be like, no, that was great. So I think off the back of all this stuff we just talked about, there was a need to kind of look at, you did sell out as a bike, you did do this, it was, you know, good. Just live in it for a bit. You don't have to think about what's going forward. And then especially in the lockdown, you start thinking about looking back, because it was so dire at the time. It was like, well, let's think, what was it like when we could go outside? That was good. Then that stems from, then you end up thinking about, you know, like all the stuff that song thinks about, talks about.
The world has heard 2 of the songs from the album. When you're in this period whereby the songs are done, how frustrating is it, the time lag between delivering a record and people hearing it?
Oh, it's well annoying.
Right.
Because I've already started a new batch of songs.
Well, I mean, you said Careful is how old?
Well, that's Careful's 3 years old.
Right.
Ribbon Around the Bomb, 2.5 years old. The rest of them are 2 years old. So it's like they were written in 2020, most of them. You know, it's going to come out April 2022, like it is now. So it's 2 years. That's, like I said, I get bored of a song in, you know, if it's a week old, I won't go back to it. You know, if I didn't finish it, so you can imagine what it's like. So you kind of have to force yourself to not, you know, just to be like, right, just place them there, just let it be for a bit. But
how are you with all the lyrics?
what, for singing them live?
Yeah.
I think I'll be all right, because we've just done this piano version, so I had to sing them all for that. So I think and because
so if I were to test you,
go on then. I like games like this.
Okay, let's see. Okay, all right.
No context of the lyric.
No context.
So just the lyric.
We'll just the lyric and then see which line comes next.
Right, go on.
Think you can do this? Okay, Ode to NYC.
You told me the song though.
Yeah, no, but I'm going to tell you the lyric from the song, and then you're going to guess the next lyric.
So.
But you're right, that's a better game.
I was going to say, you just got to go blind with the whole lyrics without even the
Yeah.
Do that game then.
Do that.
Yeah, let's do that game. do that game. Okay, let's do this again. We'll cut this again.
Continuity error.
Good point. All right, let's play a game, right? I'm going to pick lyrics randomly, and you've got to guess the song.
The next lyric.
The next lyric.
The next lyric's the song.
Next lyric, and it's a song, right? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Throw me a line, set my sails.
I've been down, running wild in my head, the writer.
He's off to a good start. But I think I gave you an easy
Do you know
one.
what? I think I'll be quite good at this as well, you know.
He wants to play the game now, he's competitive.
Should we do it?
No, I'd be fucking... I won't get involved. I love the
The
writer.
thing is, you've got a really good memory though. You discussed that. Like yours is
No,
like.
I'm good. I can remember
No,
that specific day.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's numbers
Okay.
though, that's related to it.
Okay, all right. Won't you stay until sunrise? You could maybe help find my voice.
Tell me everything is alright. Let's have a toast to the sulking boy. Is that right?
Yes!
There you go.
From Sulking Poet.
That's the second verse because the first one says, let's sing a song for the sulking boy. So I'll be able to remember him, to be fair.
God, he's properly showing off now, and he's gone right
I've
for
got
it
a
now.
showing off stance as well.
I know.
See, when I'm good at something, I like it.
Oh.
I change. Well, should we do another?
Now, listen, mate, we're going in on this. Don't let me explain, because I'll be all right soon.
Let's do everything in a rush. It's so cool.
From
Bon Wild.
oh, it's mate, 3 out of 3.
Edit.
You know?
Okay, from what line do the two words "the optimist" come from?
Careful.
Yeah, and what's the line?
She's quite the optimist. He never likes to call it quits.
Did it on 2 words. Did it on 2 words. God. Outright. Okay, here we go. Monday morning.
I watched the Monday morning rise.
From
Roads they fade into the air. Alright, visions. I'll get them all, to be fair.
2 words. Right, should we go down to 1 word?
Yeah, go
let's
one word.
let's go.
It can't just be like
No, no.
Our tunes long.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay, let's signs.
Visions. But there is one in visions.
Is there?
Road signs, it says in visions. But let me think what, so there's
No, it
another
doesn't
one.
say road signs in visions.
I can still, oh no, I got it wrong. Sulking poet.
Yeah.
There you go, hooked it.
You got the song.
Got the lyric.
Yeah,
got the song
sulking
title.
poet.
Yeah.
There you go.
It-
1 word got me, I couldn't do 1 word there.
Yeah, because
2 was alright.
you did get the 1 word. You got the right lyric. And lastly, it's too easy, really. Oh no, here we go.
Charlemagne.
No. Beach.
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 It's Harvard. Let me use my brain.
I mean, 1 word is
Meet me
savage.
by the
Isn't it?
beach. It's ribbon around the bottom.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. There you go.
1 word.
That is just, it's pretty good.
5 out of 6. Cheers, mate.
What a pleasure,
There we
Tom.
go.
Jeez.
Loved it.
What a way to
Lovely.
end it.
Yeah. I like that game. Good.
Right,
It's
you
going to do like an ending thing.
No, it sounds that.
Yeah,
The game's the end, isn't it?
The game's, I thought, the end, yeah.